Good morning, Western Washington, and happy Wednesday. I'm Matthew Fab with Western Washington Weather, and today we're going to take a look at the forecast for the next few days here, including our active weekend and our system coming in just before that, too. You can see that system starting to move in here on the satellite imagery this morning. You see these area of clouds here, all different types of clouds across the coast, starting to move into Western Washington this morning. But take a look at this fog across parts of the region from Whidbey Island southward down toward Centralia and Chehalis, and maybe a little bit even further south than that, and then along the Strait of Juan de Fuca as well. And look at some of that fog in the valleys of BC, Washington, Idaho, and Montana. Pretty interesting to see that as well as and in the Puget Sound area. And then all these clouds starting to move in with our weak system coming through today. You can see here, this is visibility measurements here as of 6 a.m. You can see SeaTac Airport down to 0.24 there, and a lot of visibility under 1 mile here across parts of western Washington. You see a few areas don't have as much fog. They're a little bit higher up like Painfield, and then you can see parts of Camino and Camino Island there, and then Mount Vernon and Bellingham and stuff like that are doing a little bit better, but a lot of the Puget Sound area is socked in this morning with that fog, with bringing visibilities of under 1 mile to the region. Some areas even under a quarter mile as well. So this could cause some delays at SeaTac this morning, just as an FYI. Now taking a look at our pattern coming up, is going to be very active. You see our ridge rapidly moving out of the area. We get clipped by this little bit of a trough today, and that is going to bring some rain this evening and some breezy conditions, but not really over 30 miles per hour. You see that moves out quickly. We get a brief ridge again on Thursday, but then as we go into Friday, we have an atmospheric river that's going to move into the area right here, and you can see that that is going to bring a decent amount of rain to the area through the weekend. And then we have this trough setting up just offshore as we go through Saturday and Sunday, brings a low pressure system right up through the Olympic Peninsula, Vancouver Island. That could bring some gusty winds to the area as well, although it's been just a little bit uncertain on where that low pressure system actually sets up, so we have to watch that closely, especially as the high resolution forecasts get in range. You can see that trough starts to pull off to the northeast as we go through Monday, but we remain active because you can see we got just another trough waiting right here to move into the area. So stay tuned for more information as we go through later in the week here to see what comes up next. So taking a look at that precipitation forecast here, as we go to about 2 p.m. today, you can see little bits of rain start to get onto the coast and the Olympics, and maybe starting to get into the Puget Sound area. By 5 p.m., we have light rain at times, although most of the Puget Sound area in the Seattle metro stays a little bit drier. This is really not an impactful storm. Just some light showers at times for the North Sound and for parts of the coast, and then that diminishes as we go into Thursday morning. You can see that atmospheric river starting here along Vancouver Island as we go through Thursday midday there, and then you see that heavier rain starts to move south as we go into early Friday morning. By 5 a.m. Friday, the entirety of the coast and parts of the Olympic Peninsula and the southwest interior are starting to get rain. By 8 a.m., that atmospheric river has draped across western Washington, and then as we go through the day, we have heavy rain at times all the way through 5 p.m. there. Look at that. Lots of heavy rain. See how there's barely any mountain snow. It just gets stuck up in the North Cascades where it's a little bit colder. And then you can see as we go into Friday night, that atmospheric river starts to move south, and we have a brief break early Saturday morning, but it doesn't last long because that low pressure system is right offshore, and it's just going to bring another round of rain to the area. But look, there's more mountain snow now. This is a little bit colder of a system. There's a bit of a pressure gradient here as well, which is interesting to see. Based on where it's set up right now and how it's not super consolidated, the heaviest or the strongest winds with this will likely be over parts of Oregon, the Oregon coast, and the Willamette Valley, not necessarily Puget Sound area. Although we do start to get a little bit of a gradient as we go into Saturday night. You can also see we get more mountain snow, especially on Sunday there. As that system pulls off to the north, that is because it's a little bit colder of a system. You're getting a higher potential for some snow coming in here, but overall, the wind is the biggest threat we have with this system, but we have to watch closely to see what happens. You can see that snow continues with another round of rain moving through as we go through Sunday evening, potentially bringing some snow to all of the mountain passes for the first time this year. And then we have showers continuing into Monday morning, maybe some convergence zone activity there. You can see that Monday afternoon and evening, the showers continue, and we do get that convergence zone potentially up towards Snoqualmie Pass. So we'll have to watch that very closely as well. Definitely an active weekend coming up. And you can see that atmospheric river here if we play this out. So this is our weak system that goes through today on Wednesday. Then you can see we have a plume of moisture setting up there on Thursday morning. That atmospheric river starts going into northern BC, Vancouver Island. Then you can see through the day Thursday it moves south, and by Friday morning that atmospheric river is aimed at western Washington. You can see by 5 a.m. Friday it's moving right in. It is aimed at us all day there. You can see by 2 to 3 p.m., the atmospheric river is still aimed at us, but it does start to sag southward. You can see it has a little bit of it just kind of hang out right here while the main body of the atmospheric river does move south over California and Oregon, and then that moves out of the area by the time we get to Friday evening. But we do have some lingering showers there. That looks like an interesting atmospheric river for California as well. And then you see the swirl of that low pressure system moving into the area as we go through Saturday and Sunday, and we may have more moisture coming in. You can see it's still pretty juiced out there, and we do have that next trough starting to move toward us, so we may have a lot more rain coming up too, so stay tuned for more on that. Now taking a look at precipitation totals as we go through today. You see very light rain with this system. You get about a quarter inch on the coast and then a few hundredths of an inch for most of the Puget Sound area. Then you see as we go through Thursday, the atmospheric river does start to impact Vancouver Island. And then as we get to Thursday night into Friday morning, we start to see that atmospheric river hitting western Washington. You see how these precipitation totals add up very quickly as we go through the day Friday into Friday night. And then by the time that atmospheric river starts to move out of the area by early Saturday morning, you can see the totals likely 1.5 to 2.5 inches for the coast, 2 inches for the Kitsap Peninsula, and then the Puget Sound area looking at 1 to 2 inches of rain. Right now, it's showing the most between Seattle and Everett, just based on the alignment of the atmospheric river. But you're looking at about 1.3 inches for Tacoma and Olympia as well. Seattle looking at about 1.6 right now. And then you can see north of Seattle get a little bit of a rain shadow over the San Juans and Whidbey Island. Bellingham getting about an inch, about 3/4 of an inch for the San Juans. And then you can see the Cascades getting about an inch south of Stevens Pass. North of Stevens Pass, you're looking at 2 to 3 inches. And then from Olympia southward, you're looking at about a ½ inch to an inch and a half of rain there, a little bit more as you go north of Kelso. And then as we go through the weekend, you can see we're going to add to those totals again as that next system moves through, bringing rain to the entire area. And by the end of the weekend here, as we go into Monday morning, these totals are, you're looking at about 2 to 3 inches of rain through this entire period for most of western Washington, except the coast getting 4 to 5 inches most likely, or 3 to 5 inches most likely there. Same thing with the Olympics and parts of the Cascades. So the biggest rainmaker, of course, will be that atmospheric river, but we're going to then get at least another inch most likely with that second system and its associated rain bands moving through the area. So definitely keep watching this over the next few days because there is a lot to see and a lot to talk about as we go through Monday. That's when this forecast ends, and we have all this rain, but there is still more coming after that too. Now taking a look at mountain snow, this is through the entire time of the atmospheric river. You can see just a little bit of snow in the North Cascades, but barely anything anywhere else because atmospheric rivers are warm. They have a subtropical component, and they keep the cold, snowy conditions out because of their warm nature. But as we go through Saturday, you get a little bit more mountain snow. But then as we go through Sunday, look at that. It really stacks up as we go through Sunday into Monday. And by Monday night, you can see we have about a foot at the highest elevations of the Olympics. And then Stevens Pass and White Pass and the Chinook and the North Cascades Highway all get up to 10 to 12 inches of snow, and then even Snoqualmie Pass in there looking at maybe getting 3 to 6 inches. We'll see it's a little bit more of an uncertain forecast. Blewett Pass maybe getting 3 to 7 inches of snow or something like that as well. So definitely going to be a mountain snowmaker as we go through Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And we have to watch that closely because as we get into range more of those high resolution forecasts, we can see if there's areas where convergence zones are going to set up that could bring a lot more snow to one pass than to some of the others. So stay tuned for more on that as we go through the next few days as well. And then here, this is want to take a look at that wind threat real quick. As you see, the atmospheric river happens right here. This is Friday. And then you see that storm start to develop right here offshore. Gets down to about 990 millibars. It's a pretty big area of low pressure, and that's why it's not too well defined and therefore not bringing super strong winds to western Washington. You can see that moves into the Olympic Peninsula. There is a gradient on the south side, so that's what we have to watch, and we have to see if forecasts show this getting any more consolidated, which could bring stronger winds further north. So there is that gradient you see. And now if we take a look at wind gusts, you can see what we have happen. Today we have gusts across the region, including the central sound, of about 30 to 35 miles per hour, a little bit less to the north. That shouldn't really do that much damage or anything like that. Then going through Thursday into Friday as that atmospheric river moves through, we do have some gusts as well. You can see Whidbey Island northward up toward Bellingham and the San Juans. You're looking at gusts of 45 to 55 miles per hour. Those 55 plus mile per hour gusts are really only expected in the San Juans. You can see Bellingham at 49 and some parts of Whatcom County getting pretty windy there. And then with the atmospheric river with some strong embedded cells and stuff, you see the South Washington coast and parts of the Oregon coast gusting 50 to 60 miles per hour. That's really not going to impact the Washington coast that much. You can see 40 to 45 miles per hour until you get up toward La Push and Forks, where you're looking at gusts of 50 plus miles per hour potentially. And then you can see in the lowlands there, likely 30 to 40 miles per hour for the Seattle Metro, strongest from Tacoma southward there, where you may have gusts of 40 to 45 miles per hour, including Chehalis, Kelso, and stuff like that, and then Portland gusting 30 to 40 miles per hour as well with that atmospheric river. Then that next system moves through here, that low that we were talking about. You can see how the Willamette Valley gusts over 50 miles per hour, and then you get another round of wind for parts of western Washington, but it's not as strong. So again, it's that low. The placement of that low, is really going to determine it, and how strong the pressure gradient is on its south side will determine how much wind we get. You can see this only shows about 40 miles per hour for the Seattle Metro instead of something more strong like you're seeing over parts of the Willamette Valley, like Salem and Eugene and stuff like that, gusting 45 to 55 miles per hour with this storm. So we have to watch closely as each forecast run has been changing a little bit, so stay tuned for more on that as we go through the next few days. Also, real quick, let's take a look at temperatures. You can see today, highs likely in the upper 50s to low 60s again once that fog burns off, and then as we go through Thursday, atmospheric river to the north, so we do stay a little bit warmer, highs in the low to mid-60s mainly in the South Sound. And then as we go into Friday, the atmospheric river starts hitting. You can see highs in the upper 50s to low 60s. So a warmish rain as we usually have with atmospheric rivers. And then as we go into Saturday, that cooler low starts to move in. You see highs drop all the way to the low to mid 50s. And then by Sunday, we drop much more, with highs likely remaining in the upper 40s for western Washington. That's why the mountains are going to be able to get so much snow, maybe even some mid 40s for highs as well. So definitely going to be much cooler on Sunday. You'll notice that. And then we remain there on Monday with highs in the upper 40s to low 50s across the region as showers continue moving through. So yeah, you can see this kind of happening in the temperature outlooks as well for the end of the month. They're below average temperatures, and then of course above average precipitation as we go toward the beginning of November, and that is that pattern we've been watching for quite a while. And yeah, hoodies on the Western Washington Weather merch store, 25% off orders over $70 for the next 5 days, so go and check out that promo. And then thank you all very much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to Western Washington Weather, follow the Western Washington Weather Facebook group, and follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky. Got a lot of updates coming up. So thank you all very much for watching. Stay tuned for more, and I'll talk to you all tomorrow.